generation of gaming has been defined by corporations in this industry doing horrible decisions, while EA mismanaged its studios when it comes to the Dead Space series and also when it comes to the Sims series, and most recently their mismanagement of the BioWare studio and kind of interfering when it came to the development of Dragon Age. And we can also point to Microsoft and basically mismanaging their entire gaming division to the point where we are not sure if Xbox is going to be around much longer. Them also raising game prices to match Nintendo, or Konami that completely left the game industry in order to try to follow gambling, only for them to crawl back and try to win our good graces. But there is one company that has been horrible this generation and more than likely won't exist anymore if they keep going towards this direction, and I won't shed a tear, and that company is Ubisoft. And I say this as a person that was a big fan of Ubisoft's early work when it came to their big hits, the Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time series, even the new reboot that they tried to do, and the side-scrolling game that they did as well, is a really good game. There's still really good games, and also the Assassin's Creed series before they went crazy and started making no sense whatsoever. They still had fun games like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which to this day I think is probably still the best Assassin's Creed, to the point that Ubisoft was on top of the world. They kind of made really good games and brought their A game almost every time, and they saw their stock soar because of it. And this was after a scare that Ubisoft might be bought out by a company they didn't want to be bought out by, which, if I'm not mistaken, was Embracer. Fast forward to now, and Ubisoft would be lucky to be bought by somebody like Embracer Group, because it looks like Ubisoft isn't going to be around for much longer, because of the fact that they've made almost every single mistake that you could make this generation, and pretty much pissing off anybody who was still a fan of them. Not only have their games been subpar this generation and kind of really not that good and half-baked, but they've also been making internal decisions and kind of screwing gamers over by the things that they're saying, with the Ubisoft CEO pretty much putting their cards on the table and saying gamers should become comfortable with not owning their games, particularly in the context of subscription services. And the reason why they were doing this is because Ubisoft is pushing more towards a subscription service, which is Ubisoft Plus, where you can play pretty much any of their games with a certain amount that you pay every day, which, by the way, is probably one of the worst gaming subscriptions out there. Don't get it. Like, first of all, don't support Ubisoft with the things that they've been doing. Second of all, this isn't like Game Pass where it's like a great deal and you're missing out if you don't get it. Like, Ubisoft Plus is probably one of the worst gaming subscriptions ever, not to mention that their app was a complete piece of garbage. And it's not any surprise that Ubisoft said something like this out loud. There's a lot of companies that are trying to double down in basically you not owning a hard copy of the game, or in the worst cases, if you have a subscription service like Game Pass, or you have something like Steam and you have a digital purchase of that game, you don't really own that game. You own the rights to play that game, and you have the rights to have it, and as soon as the company goes away, you no longer have rights to those games anymore. So basically, you're screwed if this company goes anywhere, because they're renting you out the game, they're not giving it to you. And in subscription services, it's even more egregious and worse, because when the game goes offline, that's pretty much it. You can't play that game anymore ever again, and all the money that you've wasted on the game or that you've invested in the game is no longer valid and goodbye, which has sparked a movement called Stop Killing Games, where it basically is going against this trend of you not owning your games, but especially on online games. But of course, Ubisoft, being the complete piece of garbage of a company that they are, of course they would double down and make it even worse. Termination, with their updated terms of service, they pretty much say the worst thing possible that we could have possibly thought. And if this takes a trend, it sets a precedent for other companies to be able to do so. Termination by Ubisoft will effectively, upon a notice, U or B termination of your account, if any, or C at the time of Ubisoft's decision to discontinue offering or supporting the EULA will terminate automatically if you fail to comply with any of the terms and services and conditions of the EULA. Upon termination for any reason, you must immediately uninstall the product and destroy all copies of the product in your possession. And I know, like, this has pretty much become standard for a lot of companies that you don't really own your game anymore, but this is the first time that we've seen it egregiously, even though it's been in terms of services before with Ubisoft specifically. But because of now that we have people more reporting and paying attention to what they sign, by the way, people, when you sign a user agreement, be careful at what you're signing, because these are one of the things that they're trying to silently push. And we should be kind of grateful that Ubisoft is kind of bad at business, because if they were smart, they would be really quiet about this and kind of try to sneak it in more like creative wording. But for these reasons and these reasons only, and to be honest with you, like, it's not like I need any more reasons to say this about Ubisoft. I will not shed a single tear when Ubisoft has to go out of business. The only thing I'll be sad about, and I hope that happens, is that a lot of the teams and a lot of the talent is bought by companies that actually will incubate their talent and not use them for the worst possible things ever that will not help the future of gaming. Ubisoft used to be this innovative company that made great games that everybody loved, but recently Ubisoft has been a former shell of itself, and in my opinion has been the worst gaming company of this generation, and has been disappointing ever since Watch Dogs didn't live up to its potential, to that obviously souped up version of Watch Dogs that was running on a high-end PC that they swear was going to be able to run on console on the PS4. It's been kind of downhill from there. They've made a few games here and there, like the Prince of Persia 2D game side-scroller that is really good and showed promise, but they're probably not going to make anything with that because it's not a subscription-based game or a gas games as a service that will make them money for a long period of time. And honestly, I hope this pisses people off, because this is the future that not only Ubisoft is trying to push with their online services, but it's also companies that we like that, to be honest with you, we really shouldn't trust at all, but keep them on the edge of the plank, so to speak, and kind of only getting what you want from these companies. Because every single one of these companies, I say this even as a PlayStation fanboy who loves mostly everything that PlayStation does, these companies would sell your grandma to make a nickel. And it's important that we get outraged for the right things. This is why I get upset when it comes to a lot of modern gaming media or opinion pundits, is that they push this narrative of not having actual criticism of a game or of a company. A lot of people have failed to put their thoughts on display well. Like, for example, a lot of people like just saying, well, this game is woke, so I don't like it. That's not a criticism. You're not saying anything. You're not contributing to this conversation. Or that company's woke now, I don't like them anymore. Like, what does that even mean? What do you mean? It is important that more people that are reporting gaming news actually aren't grifting to make a point and actually criticize for valid reasons and actually put a critical thought behind the thing they're saying, instead of just pulling out content and telling us, okay, well, this game is bad and this is why I think is bad, or this company's bad and that's why I think is bad. There's plenty of reasons why companies are bad. It only takes you some effort to tell us why those gaming companies are doing bad or why their games are bad anymore. There's plenty of valid reasons of why Ubisoft is not a good company anymore. One of them is not that they're woke. It is the fact that they make bad games and bad decisions when it comes to their consumers and their core base that supported them this entire time. One of those being extremely anti-consumer and telling you you don't own your game, or making bad games in general that people don't want to play, in terms of bad gameplay, having your game too long, having an open world that doesn't make sense. Like, I can go on and on why these games are bad. But it's important that we pay attention to the right things and the things that matter and things that are actually critical about these companies. Or else we really are going to live in an age where we don't own any of our games, and games are essentially a rental, or when an online game goes off, that's it, and all the money that you've invested in it is gone and dead, and you will no longer be able to access that game. And when that subscription service, if it ever goes out, you also don't own those games as well. We've seen that issue come up with Stadia when people bought a bunch of games on the Stadia device, and people were a little bit upset that they were probably gonna go back on their word and not give people a copy of the games that were online. But because we held them accountable, I think they ended up refunding certain games. But it's important that we don't let this be a precedent, because inevitably doing things like that makes gaming less accessible, and the more we make gaming less accessible, the more it becomes a niche to where we don't have more people playing video games. And the more people are playing video games, the more money that these companies will make, and the better video games that we should be getting, because of the fact that they're making record profits. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think that this is going to become more commonplace? Would you shed a tear if Ubisoft goes out of business? Let me know what you think about Ubisoft's antics, and what's your opinion on who is the worst company this generation? Do you think it's Ubisoft, or do you think it's another company? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And remember, you're pretty good.